Are you interested in intuition? Because I've got some new awarenesses this week. Hey, I'm Eloise Ansell. I am an intuitive healer based in the UK. Welcome if you're new to my channel. Welcome back if you're a repeat viewer. So I am in the middle, probably in the last week or so of a series called Magic of Your Intuition. And oh my word, it's been so special. Oh, it's been so good. I think we've got about 9 days left. But it's a whole 31 days of sessions and awarenesses and insights around our intuition. And we've had some pretty amazing ones. Even day one, people participating were emailing me going, wow. And this is just day one, So it's been pretty cool. But yesterday's session was really interesting. And I thought, do you know what? I'm going to share some of what came up because it would be really interesting to hear if any of you have seen anyone else talking about intuition in this way. Now, I have to kind of explain a little bit. When I work with clients one-on-one, or if I'm doing a group session, I'm tuning in and I'm trying to find the nearest way of unlocking energies or observing energies to allow things to change. So sometimes I might speak about something or use a metaphor or use a visual to get as close as I can to the energy that we're trying to shift or change. So sometimes when I see things in the way that I have here, it's like a metaphor, but I don't know that yet, or it's just a vehicle for me to resolve and work on unblocking people's intuition. But I would be curious if anyone else has seen it in a similar way, or if it's just an Eloiseism of how to unlock stuff. Let's talk a minute about our nervous system, because it's kind of how I got to what we're looking at. So our nervous system, we have the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. They kind of run in parallel. If you've heard of your fight or flight response, then there are 5 Fs technically, one of which I can't say here, that are basically how we, react when we're in danger. So both kind of run at the same time, but we can kind of get stuck in fight or flight mode when we're in that state for a long period of time. The body just doesn't kind of reset back to the heal and grow version of the nervous system, which normally should run the show most of the time. We're not always being chased by a tiger, but we may feel like we are in this world that we live in, with if you don't get back to an email within 30 minutes, people start texting you, and it kind of feels overwhelming and scary. So we can perceive stress as being tigers, basically. So if we got long periods of being sick or stressed out, we can kind of get stuck in fight or flight. And when that happens, putting it simply, sometimes the brain goes into a different way of kind of working, and it doesn't kind of switch back. And so the easiest way to explain this is if I was in my normal state of brain, my heal and grow version of my brain, and I see a tiger coming towards me, I'm like, oh, that's really cute. I wonder how fluffy he is, or her. Um, I might get eaten alive, because really I should go, ooh, tiger, run away or do something, whatever the circumstances are. However, my 5-year-old decides to react in the moment, because it's kind of the younger version of us that responds in these situations. So when we're in a nice, healthy state, the brain will kind of assess everything, it'll pick up all the information, and it will involve the emotions. When we're actually in fight or flight response, it kind of ignores the emotions. We don't care if the tiger's fluffy or not, and cute. We want to react without having that extra layer of kind of thinking. Does that make sense? So, like, that's my simplistic view of looking at it. So sometimes in clinic, I have to kind of, people are stuck in one way of thinking. You have to kind of like, but it isn't always that simple. There's layers of complexity to things and subtleties to how we can kind of get in these different tracks. So yesterday, when I was doing this session for the Magic of Your Intuition series, which if you want to join, I have actually closed it at the moment because I'm waiting till it finishes to work out how much to price it at. From November 2024, it will be open. So go and check that out. I'll put a link below to where you can find out when it's open. So if it's not and you want to join in, just give me a shout. So the Magic of Your Intuition series, the session that came up was all about tracks for the intuition. So just like we can kind of be in different tracks depending on if we're in heal and grow mode or fight and fright, whatever it is, freeze, faint. What I was saying was that there were all these different tracks to the intuition. So let's, for simplicity, say we've got like 1 to 10, but it felt more complex than that. And what was coming up was that when we're kind of born, we somehow kind of pop up with a natural wiring for our intuition. So let's say we start off in 5, right in the middle. That's how we're wired for our intuition. Now, I always kind of don't like using the words, we can improve your intuition, we can kind of upgrade it and things like that, because we all have access to intuition. We're all intuitive, and all we sometimes need is a framework and practice to get really good at using our intuition in certain circumstances. Now, if you were truly absolutely psychic, you would know everything through all time and space. So that might be a little overwhelming if you weren't naturally wired like that from the beginning. So let's call that 10. And 1 is you have some vague synchronicities happen in life, we're all somewhere in the middle. So if you start off life at, let's say, a 5, and all your wiring and everything is aligned to a 5, you could be in your life as a 5 on the intuition scale. And depending on what happens, you might actually shut down a bit and go down the runs. Or if you do the right trainings, you may have some spiritual development, you do some intuition training, you practice, you do something like I do for a living. You might start going up because you're doing so many thousands of hours of using your intuition every year. So, we could go up or down on the scale as what I was being shown. Now, the interesting thing that came up was that when we're in a certain track of our intuition, everything has to be aligned for the intuition to work really well. And this was what was really interesting. So what was coming to me was that, let's say, whatever number we're at, if we're at a 5, your nervous system, your body, your awareness levels, your everything needs to be aligned and wired to work at that level 5. So if you were at level 5, but some of the wiring is off, you would be struggling to work with your intuition at that level. So you might actually be better off moving down to a 4 where everything is working really well and everything's hunky-dory so that you can access your intuition at that level. And then once you've taken those steps, or the wiring's corrected, you could move back up to a 5. Does that make sense? So it was really fascinating. I was like, oh, So I think some people do move down and up depending on what's going on. Let's say you've got I don't know, you're really stressed out. It might actually be better for your wiring to move down a level or move up a level, who knows? But if not everything is aligned for whatever level and channel you're looking at or you're in, you are going to have like blocks and barriers of a different kind to access your intuition. Now, the self-sabotage also came up with this. So easier said than done. Can't even speak today. The self-sabotage can come in and shift the wiring a little bit so that you're not fully aligned at that level. So I feel like this is some awareness that I'm going to get more awareness on over time. And certainly if it comes up with more clients and things, I'll get more information and talk about it again. But it was really interesting. It's like, what is all the wiring in the body that needs to be aligned for that? For me, the nervous system is like a little bit of an antennae to pick up information, and the subtle senses and the filters around the subtle senses and the your level of being able to take the information and do something with it. As I have a lot of people come to me and they're like, I wanna be like completely psychic really quickly, and I'm like, you would go insane if that happens, because if you move up too many levels and you're not ready for it, and it does always to me feel like it needs to be a gentle journey in a way, because if you suddenly got bombarded at a different level with so much more information and data, it would be so overwhelming you might go insane. That's my personal opinion. So it has to be a gentle evolution. Now I'm curious if, I've had a couple of clients recently that have been really frustrated with their intuition. So I'm going to be really interested next time I get to work on them if it's something to do with this track thing, and then I might get some more awareness around it. But I've never really looked at it in this way. Now, do I think there are 10 levels? No, I think it's, a bigger thing than that. I think it's even kind of maybe beyond words to even be able to start numbering them and defining it. But it's the awareness of how are we aligned to our intuition at the level that we're at. Do we need to improve the wiring somehow, or some of the factors, so that we can be really aligned and have clarity with our intuition at the level we're on, so that we get real information, we're trusting it, we're working with it, it's all grand. And how do we move up a level when you're ready? Do we get all the wiring like done beforehand? It's like your internet provider, before you get connected to your new internet provider, they have to put all the cables down, and they have to put the box, and you have to have the router and all the rest of it. You need everything lined up before you can switch it on. So do some people move up before all the wiring's in place? I don't know. It could be all kinds of things, but it's given me the awareness that there's like another layer of complexity, or another route of working with undoing these blocks to access our intuition. So it was really interesting. So if you were or are, because you might be watching this in 10 years' time, taking my Magic of Your Intuition series, I'd love to know what you thought about that session and what unlocked. Please pop it in the comments below. And if you've seen anyone talk about intuition in this way, I'd really love to have a conversation with them. So please let me know and flag it. And yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I think it was quite interesting. And I was getting new awarenesses about intuition and unlocking it all the time. So if you're interested in more around this, I will put a link below to my Magic of Your Intuition series, which is a series of healing sessions. But if you want more, I have some courses, so you can dive into those. And the courses might need upgrading at some point with all this new information. So we'll see what happens there. Anyway, I hope you have a good day, have a great week, and I will catch up with you next week. Take care. Bye.